Schrader having some issues there. He'll coast through at a 550. Like we will have to run a broom down through there. That might have been a drive shaft or something. Summit Parts call in the pit area. Jackie Sloan is in need of a welder. You have a welder in your truck, trailer? Go see Jackie Sloan in the Pro Nitrous pit area. He could use your help. A little bit more track.
Another new face to the PDRA this year, Tim Papp coming in on Pro Nitrous. Tim, testing didn't go so hot. You guys seemed absolutely pumped on the starting line yesterday after that 69.
Oh, we were extremely pumped. 69 in the heat. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything better. With Barker behind the keyboard and our crew, I mean, it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
So you guys have come in here in Stevie Fast sanctioning hot, right? You guys are sponsoring a lot that has to do with the PDRA. Big thanks to KTR for that. Jeffrey Barker's walking up there on the starting line, you know, acting like maybe we'll get in, maybe we won't, and you guys absolutely let it hung. Is that always the goal, is just go completely for the top or nothing?
He's pretty conservative. He is. He's not the Jackson style where he just throws everything in the kitchen sink at it. Whatever they talk about, he takes about half of what Stevie has, so that way we don't hurt any components. But he's like a little sheep, I guess. He kind of creeps up on it, and then he'll throw something big in there, and it just makes big things happen.
Well, this is awesome. I feel like we're going to be talking to you a lot this year. A lot may change today with 2 qualifiers, but good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
With our provisional #1 qualifier in a hugely stacked Pro Boost category, Melanie Salemi. I feel like coming out, first race of the year, first qualifying pass, like that meant something.
Yeah, it really did. We tested here last week, and we've been struggling, but I finally feel like I have my old race car back under me again. So it was really, really, really awesome to go out there and make a good run. In testing the day before and yesterday morning, we put down some pretty good laps, and to come out there and I want to say I feel like John left some on the table still. Hopefully.
Well, hopefully you did, because you gapped him by a little bit there. But I mean, the competition in Pro Boost, I want to talk about the car count. I know it's always high at the first event, but if you put Pro Boost and Pro Nitrous together, Lyle Barnett just said it. I mean, we're in the 40s of all Pro Mod cars on the same property at the same time competing.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And coming back to the PDRA after racing in the Winter Series, it's like home again. And you know what you're going to get. You know what's going to happen every single day. And it's refreshing to be back here with everybody that we're used to racing with. Not that everyone didn't go and race that series as well, but being back here has been really, really refreshing for us.
A little more combined. So you heard it here. Melanie Slummy has 2 more qualifiers. We'll see if maybe John has a few more clicks up there. Good luck.
Thank you.
The guy with the #1 on his car in Extreme Pro Stock, Chris Powers. You know, it's weird. You come over to the Powers camp and everybody wants to do the interviews. You had to fight it off to be the one to talk over here. But I want to talk about yesterday, first race of the season, clean slate. But you do have that #1 on your door. A lot of new faces in Extreme Pro Stock. You ended up on top again.
Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of work over the winter, Sonny's did, and we're making some good power right now. I mean, we showed that a few weeks ago when we were out in Florida, and we're just continuing to keep it up front.
I'm going to be a little controversial here. There was a little bit of talk, you know, on the internet in the pits of maybe Extreme Pro Stock not going to have the car count, not going to have the places to race that they do. But you guys have seemed to show up and show out. The regular hitters are here, and even with the few new ones, I'd like to think that that's a little bit of growth.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got some new guys that come out this year. We got a few more that are putting cars together now. So hopefully we can get a 16-car field here and keep growing this and see what happens in the future.
All right, what are we going to see today? It's not as cool as it usually is in GALOT. A little bit sticky out here, so what you got for us?
We're going to try to go a 7 or an 8 here on the next run. We were a little soft on that first one, just to go down the track to make sure everything was good. So we'll see if we can pick up a few.
All right, in just a few minutes here, we'll see. Chris Powers.
All right, the racing surface all cleaned up and ready to go. Next pair, Matt Deesh here on the right side of the racetrack. Corey Smith, left-hand side. Corey out of Detroit, Michigan. Naughty by Nature Machine, rear Morrison horsepower underneath the scoop. Matt Deesh here on the right-hand side. The New York-based 69 Camaro with the Pat Musey horsepower. Matt made some big noise. Down. Down at the World Series of Promo. I had to think about where I was at. So Corey Smith, the Terry Phillips Racing Camaro, left side of the racetrack, and Matt Deesh here on the right-hand side. Right now, Tim Papp leads away with that 369.6 yesterday's Corvette. We'll see if Matt Deesh can work his way into the show. Currently not qualified. Not going to happen this time as he aborts mission. Corey Smith, 004, 381.1. Lays down his best lap so far this weekend. So the morning started out with some cloud cover. Now the sun beating down on the racing surface. 81 degrees currently. Not 100% certain what the track temp is. Climbing. Marcus Butner completing his burnout over on the left side of the racetrack out of Tobaccoville, North Construction 69 Camaro. They call the Heartbreaker. Pat Musey providing the horsepower underneath the hood scoop, Redline Oil, Precision Shaft Technologies on board. Marcus had issues in the opening round of qualifying yesterday. He was supposed to face off against Edward Wilson. Wilson not making the call on his Willies. WS Construction Pro Boost, start making your way to the rear staging. WS Construction Pro Boost, start making your way to the rear staging for your matchups for Q2. Butner, all eyes on him on the starting line right here.
Yep, Jay Cox backs away, and here comes that first-gen red 69 Camaro of Butner into the top light. Butner's car hikes the front end and dances with the centerline stripe from the half-track point on. 382, lifting at 169. That's going to be Marcus's best run so far out of the two efforts they have made. Marcus' car was 955 down low, 250 to half track, and he was already encountering issues by that point. Car was going to lay down a stout run, but surprised he didn't cross over that center line stripe or grab a cone out there.
Tim Molnar making the jump from Elite Top Sportsman to Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous. Here on the right-hand side of the racetrack, the 23 Camaro they call Bad Santa for Albert Racing Engines, ARC Gas, Ricky Smith Racing, and Jim Attachments. 974 cubic inches for Molnar underneath the hood scoop. Was supposed to face off against Jackie Sloan, and as you heard us announce just a little bit ago, they're looking for a welder, so not certain what's going on in that camp, but they will not make the call for Q2.
Tim Molnar has done some early season testing. Went down there to Virginia, made some laps, came here earlier this week, and now trying to get this car solidly qualified in the show. A guy that has been a top contender, an Elite Top Sportsman for quite a few years. Kind of uncharted territory anyway. Well, Tim's no stranger at going 370s, 380s. Been in a different race car. Really a different setup. His wife Ricky watching on. The Jim Attachments Chevy. Molnar's car laying down a lap at 373. There's a number, 202 miles an hour for Tim Molnar and the team out of Ohio. That's what they were looking for. From the number 13 spot, they're going to climb the leaderboard to number 6.
Yeah, with Ricky Smith helping you out, I'm sure he's going to make sure that Molnar heads towards the top of the charts. Our next pair already fired up and ready to go, doing their burnouts. Tony Wilson and Tommy Mooney. Wilson on the left-hand side out of Kannapolis, North Carolina. The K-Town Hustler, 68 Camaro for Greenbrier Excavating. Premier Concrete Solutions, Tony Wilson Hauling, Finney Builders, Gopher Utilities. Out of Pat Musey Power Plant, Underneath the Hood Scoop. And Tommy Mooney here on the right-hand side out of Shelby, North Carolina, the TM Race Car 68 Camaro. For Fulton Race Engines, M&M Transmissions, Tie Drive, Hoosier Tire, and Schweitzer Dynamics. So Tommy Mooney been building these hot rods, Derek, for a long time. Out there in Shelby, North Carolina. Tony Wilson, I believe, is getting a new Willys built by Tommy Mooney, if I remember correctly.
I try to keep up with Tony in race cars.
He's not as bad as Gray Kimbrell, but he does go through a few of them.
Look at that beautiful, Corvette. Got rid of that. Of course, back to this one that he debuted last year, kind of a tribute to his family when they got into drag racing. But Tommy Mooney, a long-time name in pro modified racing, and they are side by side at the top of the racetrack. How about that? The scoreboards light up for Wilson, 377.3 at 202 miles an hour as Tommy Mooney goes 315, 199. Put Tony number 9. Tommy Mooney slides to number 12 here in the qualified order.
Dane Wood here on the right-hand side out of Chesapeake, Virginia. U.S. Mail, Purvis Ford, 3 Guns Custom, BHM Drag Racing, all on board that 2012 Mustang. Switched over to Pat Musey Horsepower over the winter. And Freddie Scribe on the left-hand side, your reigning world champion in the category. The Sorcerer, 69 Camaro out of Millersville, Maryland. For Scribe Welding, another Pat Musey Mill underneath the hood scoop. He's going to try to push his way up to the top spot, went a 372.0 on his first effort. Finished runner-up in this race last year.
So Dane, of course, wife Tiffany out there, his dad, LJ, standing next to the passenger door. Final adjustments are being made on the U.S. Mail Racing Ford Mustang. Dane Wood feels very confident here in 2025 with the power that they are getting out of Pat Musey's shop. Looking for success, and of course Freddie Scribe, the guy that everyone is chasing, your defending world champ, ready to turn that 69 Chevrolet Camaro loose. Tire shake early on for Dane Wood. He clicks it off, and Freddie Scribe, 372.7, 200.89 miles an hour. That's going to put Freddie Scribe climbing up to, I should say the number 5. Car's buried 7th out.
Only 7th out difference in his 2 passes. Put a dial in on it.
That's actually a stout run, heat of the day. And another reason why Freddie Scribe won that championship last year. Consistency is key, and he is displaying that already here in 2025. Next up,
the rookie in the category, Amber Denton on the left-hand side out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. The OG Jungle Rat 69 Camaro. Franklin Electric, SmartCom, Redline Oil, Hoosier Racing Tire, and Jeff Pierce Race Car Tuning. She sits number 4 after the opening round at a 371.4. And John Vergatz here on the right-hand side of the racetrack out of Erie, Pennsylvania. The 69 Camaro, they call it Dark Knight. A1 Auto, Another Pat Musey Mill underneath the hood scoop.
So Amber Denton, of course, making her debut here in Pro Nitrous this weekend. But Amber has campaigned this race car for the past couple of years, of course, in 632, and then making the switch to the big 959 nitrous fed combination. Raced down there earlier on in the season in Florida. So Amber Denton, pretty comfortable behind the wheel, you could say. And John Vergott's a longtime runner here in Pro Nitrous. Brings that all black 69 Camaro to the starting line, right hand side. You see a lot of these race cars running the Pat Musey horsepower. Nice clean runs out of both as Amber pulls away. 369.3, low numbers there, 204 miles an hour. Best run of the weekend and right to the top of the leaderboard by 3 thousandths of a second. Amber Denton holds the number one spot now. John Vergott's 377, 183, the numbers there, as his car stayed right alongside of Amber until about half track and started to push into the center line stripe, and he had to try to wheel it back in the center of the racetrack, which he fought it. But good runs out of both race cars, but Amber Denton Denton, that's who everyone's chasing now.
Buddy Perkinson next up on the right-hand side out of North Prince George, Virginia. The LAT Racing Oil 69 Camaros for Brown Line Construction. He's your number 7 qualifier so far at a 375.0. And Billy Albert lines up on the left-hand side out of Wytheville, Virginia, the engine builder for Structural Mechanical. In that Stan Nance-owned machine, Ricky Smith doing the tuning. You can see him on the headset back behind the car.
I believe that's an old Ricky car. Of course, the red, white, and black color combination. Ricky has ran for so many years, and Buddy Perkinson, another one of those guys that has worked his way up through the categories here at the PDRA. A longtime runner that we've seen in Top Sportsman, and then started to dabble in Pro Nitrous before with both feet in. So Buddy P trying to stay in the top half of the field. Right now he's number 7. Billy, pretty stout performance that we seen yesterday with 370 elapsed time. We've seen Amber Franklin go 69 just a moment ago. 69.3. Let's see if Albert can lay down one of those numbers. Buddy's car hikes the front end, sets it down, clean run to the top end, 373 there for Buddy Perkinson, picking up 200ths of a second at 202 miles an hour, 372 for Billy Albert. His Chevrolet Camaro goes to the other end and over 204 on speed. So Billy number 4, Buddy Perkinson number 6 here in qualifying, but 2 solid runs here today. Sun's out on the racetrack, and they're going A to B.
Tim Papp and Tommy Franklin. Our final pair in category. Papp left side in the Corvette. Your number 2 qualifier. Amber's number 1 now by 3 thousandths of a second. But Tim Papp also made the jump from Elite Top Sportsman this season. The 2016 Corvette for KTR Racing. Donnie Urban on the headset behind the car. Past world champion in Elite Top Sportsman. Couple-time past champion in Elite. And Tommy Franklin here on the right-hand side. A 3-time world champion in the category for Redline Oil, Franklin Electric, SmartCom, Jeff Pierce Race Car Tuning, Mincer Motorsports, and Hoosier Racing Tire. Tommy number 370 with a 2, Pap 369.6.
And what a beautiful new race car that Tommy Franklin has right here. His wife, Judy, stands out in front. As you've seen, a pig mat. That's what got caught up and kind of shredded into a million pieces as Tommy did his burnout. Tim Pap over there on the left-hand side, as Scotty was talking about, that red Corvette. And what an impressive first outing here in 2025 in Pro Nitrous that Tim Pap has had. Another one of those guys, just as Tommy has done some early season testing and running down there in Florida. Now they roll in here to GALOT this weekend to kick off the Red Line Oil PDRA Drag Racing Series. And Tim Pap, his name's right at the top of the leaderboard. Pap's car's on a run. Franklin trying to hold on alongside of him. Look at the numbers left side, folks. 367.6, 204 miles an hour. And Tim Pap says, I'll take that top spot back. Amber Denton gets shoved to number 2. Tommy Franklin to number 3. Billy Albert 4. Freddie Scruggs. Buddy Perkinson is 6. Tim 7 and 8 is John Vergatz. What a top 8, the top half of the field, I should say, here in Pro Nitrous. But look at the names, Scotty, that we're seeing that we normally not always see at the top half. They're hanging a huge run here in 2025 early on.
Well, 2 rookies hold down your top 2 spots with Tim Pap and Amber Denton. I mean, they're saying, hey, guys.
Billy Alberts,
Yep.
right back to the top there.
Absolutely.
Freddie Scribe, of course, top contender. Buddy Perkinson's ran well. Tim Molnar, John Vergatz. Great to see that. Then the leaderboard from the bottom half. Number 9 is Tony Wilson. Dane Wood sets number 10. Corey Smith, Tommy Mooney, Marcus Butner, Jackie Salone, Brian Schrader, and Edward Wilson is your top 16 here in Pro Nitrous qualifying. So the tractors will take the racing surface. Teams will go out there and check things out before we go into our Pro Boost category, Q2. Drivers are suited up, waiting in the wings. Bring them out here very shortly.
Not a new face to drag racing, but a new face here to the PDRA, and it's a mighty fine face over here. Lyle Barnett made your PDRA debut. Don't worry, there's no eyebrows there for you to touch there. Well, first thing I want to hit on before your performance is your first impressions of being a competitor here in the greatest series in drag racing.
Only thing I've really had to compare it to is the NHRA, right? That's the only big-time sanctioning body that I've ran. And Tyler and the Franklins and the PDRA staff do a really good job. It's on schedule. You know when you're going to run, about what time you're going to run, with the exception of some holdups on the racetrack, but that happens anywhere. But it feels really good. We came out yesterday in Q1, made a really nice run, got us in the top half of the field. After Q1, there's some hitters on the outside like Jason Harris, Jay Cox, who made a really nice run in testing. So I know that run won't stand to keep us in the number 6 spot, but we've got the same opportunity to pick it up in Q2 and 3 and look confident going into race day, so I feel good about it.
28 cars in Pro Boost. Like, you knew you were coming into a pretty heavy class there, but that's pretty impressive. It's, not like the 80 at World Series at Pro Mod, but honestly, you guys had to go out there and get down the racetrack to not be super stressed out today.
Yeah, comparing it to the World Series of Pro Mod, there's several different sanctioning bodies around the country that are all running within the next couple of weeks, so you can't expect all of them to show up here, but a strong showing for the 28 cars in Pro Boost. That may be the most they've ever had. I'm really not sure car count wise what they've had in the past. But when you're talking about splitting the Pro Mod class up into 2, you've got half that many Nitrous cars in Pro Nitrous on the other side, and if you combine the 2, you're talking about a 40 plus car field. So very impressive, and it's going to be tough over here. I heard some pretty good numbers letting go of the button yesterday in the double O's and whatnot. So I've got a bunch in the box. I'm probably going to trim a little bit out, because you don't want to go up there and get left on. It matters from start to finish. You have to make a perfect run from letting go of the button. The tuner's got to be on his game. and you got to drive it to the stripe like you're supposed to. So it's not easy over here. I was a little nervous coming in, to be honest. You don't want to come over here and completely screw the pooch. You know, you want to come here and make a good showing, especially in my quote-unquote rookie season over here. And I think so far we've done that. So like I said, I'm confident going into race day that we're going to have a car that can compete. I just got to keep my head out of my rear end and drive it like I know how. So we'll see how it goes. Lee White's got a good handle on it. Tommy Humans has gave me a great opportunity. I got all the pieces here. I just got to do my job.
There'll be many more interviews like this to come. Lyle, smoke your eyebrows off, Barnett, here at the PDRA.
All right, so the tractor lights are on, and the final lap is complete, and that means it's time to go racing here in Pro Boost Q2.
And Derek, I know you were on the road yesterday on the way here, and I'm here to tell you, bud, Pro Boost is a dogfight.
Hey, you said 26 cars?
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
big names on the outside
That's
looking in
huge.
that are not qualified as of yet.
Yeah,
Melanie Salemi
trying to push their way to the top.
Yeah. Melanie Salemi already did that. She sits atop the qualifying sheet right now, but Q2 about to fire off here at GALOT Motorsports Park in the Summit East Coast Nationals presented by Fuel Tech. All righty, Derek, the first two fire to life. Everybody chasing Melanie Salemi's 363.7. And it's going to be a pair of Corvettes. David Monday here on the right-hand side of the racetrack. And Preston Tanner on the left-hand side. Tanner out of Rensselaer, Indiana, the Sweetheart Corvette, left side of the racetrack for Talbot Manufacturing, Tanner Transport, and Manhattan Collision Center. And David Monday, the 22 model, here on the right-hand side out of Marysville, Tennessee for David Monday Race Cars. As usual, here at GALOT, Preston struggled in the opening round, but as we've seen before, there's no quitting that camp.
It's almost that, like that is the norm here in GALOT. The Tanner is too. Start out, they make some runs that are not so good. Thing you know, that car just turns around, and they are laying down monster laps.
You can see Jeff Pierce on the headset back behind the black Corvette. He is the tuner and crew chief for that machine. His dad, Andy, shuts the door and moves away from the car as they pull towards the top bulb.
So Chad backs away for Preston. Rensselaer, Indiana. Young kid moves into the beams, and they are out and away. David Monday's car makes a nice, clean run, 369.8, 203 miles an hour. Preston's going to go 368 with an 8, 202 the speed. That's going to put Preston Tanner to number 12, David Monday to number 14. And now Bubba Green's going to be on the bump spot of the number 16 position at 374.5. So the spread from number 1 to 16, 363.7 down to 374.5.
And Derek, I told you there's some big names that aren't on the qualifying sheet. Here's Steve King. Guy just picked up the biggest win of his career a month or two ago at the World Series of Pro Mod, and he's not qualified. Steve King out of Strasburg, Virginia, the Savage Corvette for Pilot Electric. Gene Pilot owns this machine. Resolution Racing Services on board. It's a G-Force built hot rod. And like I said, he just won the biggest Pro Mod race of the year, and not even in the show here at PDRA.
Absolutely. That shows you that Steve King, he has got the race car to compete at the top, especially here in Pro Boost. But he is outside looking in. Let's find out if Q2 is the session that Steve King will solidly qualify this race car here in race number 1 of the Redline Oil PDRA Drag Racing Series. all eyes. Going to be the right-hand side of the racetrack is, unfortunately, Joel Winsley could not make the call. This is your scheduled pair. So the sun tucks away behind some clouds. We get some cloud cover of the racetrack for a moment. King's car riding hard on the Willie bar. 363 with a 7 at 205 the speed. And Steve King, just like that, lays down a monster run. By speed is your new #1 qualifier. He has matched Melanie Salimini lapse time. 2:05.66 beats a 2:05.47. And we have a new #1 qualifier in the category. And for how long? Well, we're about to find out.
And Derek, we often talk about the tuners in the category, and if you're John Salemi, you're feeling pretty good about yourself right now. You got 1 and 2 locked down here early on into Q2, but also the World Series win with Steve King. So here's 2 more big names currently not qualified. Ty Tutterow, left-hand side of the racetrack out of Mocksville, North Carolina, the 69 Camaro for quick drive, or quick fuel, Ty Drive, and Redline Oil. And Jay Cox, the Butner Construction Smithfield Collision Camaro here on the right-hand side for Hart's Turbo, also currently not qualified.
I remember in testing, Jay Cox went 59. That was a huge number, and 220 miles an hour, and Jay said, you know, that even surprised us. He said, I was surprised to see that number come up on the scoreboard. But Jay made the switch to this combination here this season, a longtime pro Nitrous competitor, a guy that also said, hey, I'm going to step out of the driver's seat, I'm going to retire, you're not going to see me as much, and, well, didn't take long. He's right back here to the racetrack. It's in his blood, one of the best to do it, and they seem to be having some success here with this race car early on. Now Ty Tutterow. Car that his dad was behind the wheel. Justin Smith owns it. Now he's doing the driving duties. Jay's car shakes the tires and he clicks it off. 365 with a 1. 206 the speed for Ty Tutterow. Right on down the first federal lane to the #3 spot. Jay's car had good numbers early on, but by, I would say, 200 feet out, you could see him starting to chatter the tires and driven right towards the center line stripe.
So now, Derek, that'll put David Monday in the #16 qualified position with a 69.8.
Yeah, so David goes out and lays down a respectable, clean run. And he was one of the first drivers out in the session and already on the bump spot. It's like, man, what do I got to do?
And now the spread 363.7 for Steve King to a 369.8 for David Monday back in the 16 spot. And still a ton of cars left to come up here and try to make their way into the field.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Unleash the power of performance with the Edelbrock Group. For over 85 years, our legendary brands have been trusted by automotive enthusiasts around the world. From street performance to racing, our innovative solutions, engineering, and testing deliver unmatched power, precision, and reliability. Proudly manufactured in our 7 facilities across the U.S., we stand by the quality of our craftsmanship. The Edelbrock Group, where passion meets performance.
Your 2024 80cc Openweight World Champion.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
We drive performance. We drive passion. A background in drag racing. And a future in all forms of motorsports. Because success in one sport isn't enough. Pushing ourselves to be the best. Climbing every mountain. Topping every peak. Until you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
All righty, we're giving the next pair the signal to fire here in WS Construction Pro Boost presented by Time Drive and P2 Contracting. It's going to be your reigning world champion, and Jason Harris on the left-hand side, currently not in the program. The Party Time Camaro out of Pittsboro, North Carolina for Southern Diamond Company. SP Tools, Hoosier, Pro Charger, and LAT Racing Oil. Only mustered up a 481 in the opening round of qualifying. Kenny Lang on the right-hand side. The 69 Camaro for Al Billis Racing. He won a 398, sits number 24 in the qualified order. Harris, one of the few people on property that will start their drive for 5 here. 4 people are tied with 4 world championships in the PDRA. Jason Harris is one of them.
Now the sun pops out of the racetrack, and Jason Harris, Kenny Lang, Kenny Lang. Clean runs on the both Chevrolet Camaros. They go to the other end at 367 there for Kenny. Jason, 002 on the tree, 364 with a 206 the speed. And hey, Jason Harris, 3 here in the category now. So Jason goes, I believe, up to number 3.
And that'll put Preston Tanner in the number 16 spot, 368.8.
So Kenny Lang gets in. He's still in the danger zone, being number 15, but is in the show currently.
Jason Lee, unfortunately, has the parachute open up on the burnout. And now, yep.
Luckily, the crew couldn't told him to stop, so hopefully Jason just stays there or drives forward a bit.
So try to get the car to roll forward here, and they can hopefully pick the parachute up and put it inside the car. Meanwhile, Scott Lang backs up here on the right-hand side. Scott out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, the equalizer, 2018 Camaro for AML Motorsports, Nissan of Rocky Mount, Infiniti of South Bay, Carmack Engineering, Still Moonshine, Proline and Fuel Tech. Made some impressive runs in the Winter Series, but sits on the outside looking in. Number 21, he went a 378.4, not good enough. Like we said just a minute ago, has to run quicker than Preston Tanner's 368.8 to crack the top 16.
And it's really a tough break and frustrating for Jason Lee, and you know more than anybody that he's upset. He did the burnout and shook the chute out of it. Thankfully, Jason didn't back over the chute, get it all wrapped up in the rear end components of the car. So Scott Lang now is going to get a single run. The AML Motorsport. Past 365 there for Scott, 211 miles an hour. That's going to catapult him up into the qualified field.
Yeah, put Scott all the way up to number 7. That'll bump Preston Tanner out of the field. Kenny Lang now, who's already run, sits number 16 at 367.9. Top end cleared off, and we're ready to go. Chuck Alls, John Dock, our next pair. John Dock here on the right-hand side out of Benson, North Carolina, the 67 Ford Mustang. For Southern Diamond Company, TKM Performance, On Demand, and Nasty Racing. He won a 373.6. And Chuck Osh out of Mount Airy, Maryland on the left-hand side for Beat Baldwin and Brian Roche Racing Engines. And Derek, if there's one thing we never do is count out Chuck Osh.
Yeah, painted the race car over the off-season. Beautiful.
Looks good.
Yeah, 68 Camaro. Something in there on the left side. And John Dock, the local runner here at GALOT Motorsports Park. And, of course, Southern Diamond Company. They've become a large marketing partner. A couple teams here for the past few seasons. So remember, Chuck Ulsh is the guy that he is outside looking in. He'll do whatever it takes. And if it means chucking a door off the thing and not lifting,
send it.
He'll do it. And he's done it before. We've seen it. That was enough to get him in the show that night, too. Ulsh's car moves around a half track, 370 the end result at 204 the speed for Chuck Ulsh. As 371 appears on John Dock's scoreboard, 199, and that's going to put John Dock number 21. Chuck Ulsh goes to number 20, and both drivers are still not currently qualified. Clean runs for both race teams, just not enough. They needed to run quicker than 367 with a 9, currently being held by Kenny Lay.
Gabriel Andino on the left-hand side. The 69 Camaro is your number 25 qualifier to 386.7. And Ed Burnley started this session out qualified in this Ironman machine on the right-hand side for Southwind Refrigeration. Ed out of Pasadena, Maryland, went to 369.6. They're going to have to bump it up just a little bit right here to work his way back into the program. 367.9, now the mark. They're trying to eclipse to work their way into this field.
Gabriel and Ed here on the starting line. Their first-gen bow-tie Camaros. Trying to make a move into the 16-car qualified field. Ed car out and down course at 370 with a 9, 203. No improvement for him, 375. Gabriel Andino picks up at 188 miles an hour. That's going to put Andino to number 23. And they are still short of the 16-car field here in Q2.
Don Tolley next out, left side of the racetrack out of Bedford, Virginia. His 2014 Camaro sits in the number 25 qualified position at a 379.7. And Jeff Rudolph here on the right-hand side out of Brownsburg, Indiana. The Ghetto Sleigh 69 Camaro for Proline Fuel Tech M&M. He's your number 15 qualified machine at a 367.5.
Yeah, Jeff Rudolph has had a pretty impressive last 2 seasons, I would say, with this race car. They have made some great strides, laying down some big runs, and Rudolph is committed, I believe, to the entire PDRA Tour here in 2025 with the Ghetto Sleigh. I believe he's building a new car as we speak. But the Excavator out of Indiana, and of course Brownsburg, where he calls home, and I want to thank to a lot of the folks in Brownsburg that got recently hit by the tornadoes that went through that area, a lot of storm damage. So our prayers and thoughts go out to them. So they call him the Sheriff, Jeff Rudolph. Into the top bulb, right side, Don Tolley, staged and ready. Rudolph's car trucking to the other end at 367 at 205 miles an hour. Look at Jeff Rudolph, his back-to-back elapsed times in Q1 and Q2. Tolly, 380-196. So that puts him 25, and Jeff Rudolph's number 15. Can you believe that? Yeah. Wow.
James Beadling next out on the left side of the racetrack at Olmsted Falls, Ohio. The 2018 Camaros. It's number 24 on the qualifying sheet with a 378.7. And Raymond Matos here on the right-hand side. The 2020 Camaro is number 14 at a 367.3.
So Raymond's new here in the Pro Boost category, but not new to behind the wheel of these Pro Modified machines. And started out the Winter Series. Ran some of the Pro Mod stuff down there. Very good behind the wheel. And that team is very capable of competing at the top. Of course, Pro Line power.
And Derek, Tyler and I were chatting about it yesterday during qualifying. You really wanted to come out on your first shot and try to make your way into the program. You know, lay down not a soft, but a solid pass so you could get qualified. Because now some of these teams are really behind the 8 ball, and Raymond sits all the way down to number 14 spot. I'm sure he'd like to march on up the qualified order.
Well, I mean, 367.3 is the elapsed time that he laid down. You would think that's pretty stout, pretty solid run, right?
It's only 6 thousandths away from being out of the field, though.
Correct. That's the crazy thing. And James Beadling, team out of Ohio, they've been known to lay down stellar runs. Great side-by-side drag race. Watch the scoreboard, 367.0. They're going to pick up by 3 thousandths of a second at 203. 370 with a 9 for James Beadling. That's going to be good enough for number 21. Raymond grabs 1 spot to the number 14 position.
Yeah, 12, 13, and 14 are all 367 zeros.
So
the only thing
speed separates them.
the only thing differentiating it is the speed. Bubba Green and Robert Davis, our next pair. Bubba Green, left side of the racetrack out of Taylor, South Carolina. The Killer Mater 2017 Corvette tuned by the legend Scotty Cannon. He's number 23 qualifier at 374.5. And Robert Davis here on the right-hand side. Another one of those G-Force Resolution Racing Services machines. A 2018 Camaro for D-Squared Contracting and Kinetic Shocks. He's number 12 qualifier, one of those 367 zeros. Scotty Cannon setting the wheelie bars for Bubba Green there on the left side. An absolute legend in Pro Modified racing.
You know, Scotty's had a season or two to kind of get comfortable, reacclimated to the tuning aspects of these race cars. And I think this year you're going to see big things out of Bubba Green and that Corvette on the left-hand side. A team for D2 Contractors. Robert Davis. The trip up from Florida. That's number 12 right now, and he's another one of those 367 players. There's quite a few of them here in the category. A tightly knit field. There they go to the other end of the racetrack. Scoreboards light up. How about 367 again for Robert Davis at 207. 373 they're going to pick up by just about 6 thousandths of a second for Bubba Green. That's not good enough to put him in the show. So they're wiping up some fluid out there on the racetrack that I believe Bubba Green left. Starting line. As soon as we get that cleaned up, we'll go back at it once again. Just a light drag's going to be done. Thomas Bemis and TVC team in the house. Good to have them on board here in 2025. Randy Weatherford, Tom Blinko strapped into their race cars. They will be the next teams to take on the 660-foot race course.
All right, racetrack cleaned up and ready to go. Here for WS Construction Pro Boost Q2, presented by Tie Drive and P2 Contracting. Randy Weatherford, that WS Construction machine there on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Danville, Virginia. Your number 13 qualifier, another one of those 367 zeros. And Tom Blinko, how about that? All the way up in the number 8 spot for the Bardstown, Kentucky Corvette.
Yeah, so Tom Blinko, David Munday, they're kind of they're teammates, obviously. Identical race cars out of the same shop. But you see, Tom Blinko has laid down a stellar run in Q1 to go to the number 8, right in the middle of the pack.
A couple of guys have come out and run well so far. But yesterday when Blinko laid down that 366.0, kind of a mic drop moment for that team as they prove they're here to play this weekend. So these two pull up to the top bulb. Here we go.
Blinko's car has the front end hiked in the air. The half track point 360 with it, 368, excuse me, 204 miles an hour, 366. Weatherford, he picks up 100th of a second from his best effort so far. But Tom Blinko lays down another very respectable here in Pro Boost.
Yeah, 4 drivers now to 366. You just saw Weatherford go the 66.2, but number 8, Tom Blinko, 366.0. Tim Dutton, number 9, 366.1. And Randy Weatherford and Lyle Barnett, 366.2. Johnny Camp, 366.4. Johnny Camp. Next up, left side of the racetrack, the Hells Bells Camaro out of Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania for NGK Spark Plugs, Tatman Electric, Camp Brothers Enterprises, Proline, and Turnkey Foundations. Travis Harvey on the right-hand side out of Burlington, North Carolina, in the Gray Ghost, the Carolina Kid behind the wheel for Vaughn Miles and Top Motorsports, CK Motorsports, Miller Time Racing, B&D Automotive, Hoosier Tire, Proline, and L. All on board the Harvey machine here on the right-hand side. He went a 365 with a 4 that landed him number 6. Johnny Camp, a 366.4, has him all the way back in number 12. Keep your eyes on both these machines. Brandon Stroud doing the tuning over there on Camp's machine. Known to lay down big numbers. The Hells Bells hot rod, left side, and never ever count out Travis Harvey. A known lever in the category. Looks like he has Jamie Miller helping out. The Red Hat Mafia. So while the driver has to do his job behind the wheel, crew chiefs play a major part in tuners here on these machines. Two of the best in the business, Brandon Stroud, Jamie Miller, going head-to-head here in Q2 with their drivers Johnny Camp and Travis Harvey.
So watch the Carolina Kid, Travis Harvey. 363. How about that for Travis at 207? 364 right alongside him for Johnny Camp. Travis Harvey's your new number 1 qualifier by 0.004 of a second. What a run. Johnny Camp, not too shabby. Right to the number 4 spot. So it's Harvey, King, Salemi, Camp, and Harris, your top 5.
Racetrack's there.
And Travis's car looked to me as when it got to the 60-foot mark, it started to just chatter the tires ever so slightly, and it pushed him to the left just a little bit, and still goes to the number 1 qualifying spot.
Well, 2 more heavy hitters back in burnout. Lyle Barnett, left side of the racetrack. The clean title, 2020 Camaro out of Tommy Yeomans Racing for VP Race Fuels, Braille Batteries, Pro Charger, and MacFab bead locks. He's your number 12 qualifier to 366.2, and Kurt Stedding, the birthday boy, out of Carnegie, Pennsylvania for P2 Contracting in his 69 Camaro, YO Motorsports, Tie Drive, Redline Oil, and Kurt always a championship contender. He's number 7 currently in the field at a 365.2.
shaker, Kurt Steding. He gets a little crossed up out there. Lyle Barnett takes the Tommy Yeomans Camaro, 367, 204 miles an hour on the left-hand side. So no improvement for Lyle. They'll stay number 7 and 12 here at Pro Boost right now.
Our final pair in category, Tim Dutton and Melanie Salemi. Dutton on the left-hand side out of Northwood, New Hampshire, the Undertaker Corvette. For Great Transport, TD Construction, ATI, and Noonan Race Engineering. Number 10 qualifier to 366.1, and Melanie Salemi came into the session in the number 1 spot. Out of Buffalo, New York, the Purple Rain Firebird for Ali Installation. Resolution Racing Services, G-Force Race Car, and Kinetic Engineering now finds herself back in the number 3 spot at a 363.7.
Yeah, so Melanie started the session number 1. She is now number 3, as Scotty just talked about. And you got to look at Travis Harvey's 363 elapsed time. Pretty stout this session with the weather conditions, especially when you've seen a lot of other cars go out and shake the tires or slow up a bit or run right where they were in the opening round of qualifying yesterday. Travis stepped up in a big way. And Tim Dutton, left-hand side, that's the Undertaker Corvette for the site contractor out of New Hampshire. To be number 10 in this field, I think truly says something. So Dutton looking for consistency. He went out yesterday, went 66.1 at 204 miles an hour.
And Derek, don't forget Dutton pulling double duty as he's in his pro street Corvette as well.
Tim Dutton shatters the tires, and look at Melanie Salemi. How about this? 361.5, 206 miles an hour, and we're picking our jaws up off the floor on that one, folks. Melanie Salemi right to the top of the leaderboard once again in the final pair of Pro Boost. She knocks Travis down to number 2, Steve King to 3, Johnny Camp, Jason Harris, Ty Tutterow, Kurt Steding, and Scott Lang rounds out your top 8, but a monstrous run out of the young lady from New York, Melanie Salemi.
High fives from John Salemi and the crew, as there should have been, man. That was a monster shot here in the heat of the day. But now we're going to make the jump over to AED Performance Extreme Pro Stock presented by Kazi Racing Engines. So our first pair out, Alan Drinkwater, past world champion here on the right-hand side. The White Whale 08 Mustang for Seminole Paving, Drinkwater and Drinkwater. AED competition, ram clutches, and a Kazi power plant underneath the hood scoop. And Jeremy Huffman out of Catawba, North Carolina, left-hand side. The 3V Performance 2010 Cobalt for Lake Lookout Campground, Mike Huffman Enterprises, Line-to-Line Coatings, and Dellinger Fabrication.
All right. I'll clean them out a few times, roll them on in, get ready to let up on that clutch pedal. They'll run through the gears. Alan Drinkwater gets a hold of the racetrack and goes 4.127, 174 miles an hour. 580 there for Jeremy. He encountered some issues early on into his run with that Chevrolet Cobalt, so that's going to put Alan Drinkwater number 3 in the category. We'll look at qualifying real quick. Christopher Powers sits number 1. Win Rice is 2. Alan Drinkwater's 3. Steve Boone's 4. 5 is Jordan Henslin. 6 is Johnny Placino. 7 is Larry Pearson. Rounding out your top 8, Jerry Tucker. And speaking of Jerry Tucker. Here comes the JT Motorsports Camaro. Left-hand side.
And Jerry Tucker out of Lindsay, Oklahoma, the 2024 Camaro for CP Carrillo, Maxima Oil, and Moroso. Supposed to face off against Dave Hughes. Doesn't look like Hughes making the call. PDRA Pro 632 presented by PTC. We need you for Q2, please. Pro 632, we need you to the staging lanes for Q2.
So clutch setup is key with these race cars. Jerry Tucker, heat of the day. Sun's out on the racetrack. Temperatures are up there. It's been 527 yesterday and only 97 miles an hour. So he obviously aborted the run, showed the clutch pedal in early and coasted on down. Today's a new day, Q2. Task at hand. Get that car solidly qualified and into the force.
Jerry's got the flying meatball tune in his machine, so a lot of knowledge behind this team.
Yeah, Frank Gugliotta over there. So Team Maxima and JT Motorsports. .102 down low, and Jerry Tucker, 419. There's a good starting point to make some advancement on going into Q3 later today, 172 miles an hour. So Jerry will now be, choose the CompuLink timing system switches over. Number 6.
Next up will be Johnny Placino out of Smithtown, New York. New colors for Team Placino this season. Ross Environmental Services, Ram Clutches, Maxima Oil, and Kelly Equipment Repairs on board. Number 7 qualified machine with a 4.22.3. Placino, 1 of 2 drivers on property, trying to drive for 5. That's 5 world championships. One of only 4 people to have 4 PDRA World Championships. Placino looking to do big things here in Q2, move up the qualifying sheet.
So Johnny, so used to seeing those orange colors on that Ford Mustang. They picked up a new marketing partner here this year for Ross Environmental Services Incorporated. New look, but the same goal, World Championship. Running number 1 on the window of that 2013 Blue Oval Ford. Johnny's in. You see him chat of the tires in the first 16 feet of the run. And 410 with a 576 miles an hour. Nice lap for Johnny. He was 1 flat down low, 271 to half track. So Johnny, by 4 thousandths of a second, takes over the number 2 spot right behind Christopher Powers.
Jordan Insulin next out on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Lakeland, Florida. The 09 Mustang for Jay's Performance and Repair, Talmadge Towing, Golden Gate Hotel and Casino. He's your number 6 qualifier to 4:16.8. And Mike Murphy, the Lightning Lithium Pontiac, here on the right-hand side, your number 11 qualified machine at a 6:42.8.
Jordan Insolin. On the left side of the Mustang. Must have seen that black race car. Purple this year. With some white stripes. So the Dark Horse Coffee Company. Turning it loose, and they're going to be 7,000 red for Georgia. They'll go 434. Mike Murphy has his own set of issues, and 614 the result. The Coral Springs, Florida machine.
Dwayne Rice and Elijah Morton, the next pair out. Rice on the left side of the racetrack out of Grove City, Ohio. The Excalibur Race Engines 2022 Camaro for CP Pistons. Tobacco Road Harley Davidson engine, number 3 qualifier to 412 with a 7. And Elijah Morton here on the right-hand side, the Double Trouble Mustang for Allen Competition Engines. Larry Jeffers built that machine. South State Development, Horizons East, and Carolina Utilities. Elijah struggled, only won a 626. .840 cubic inches for Rice. 832 for Morton. And of course, naturally aspirated 3-pedal machines. The weather's definitely going to affect the way these cars perform.
Dwayne's team guides him into the pre-stage beam. Excalibur Racing Engine, CP Carrillo. You got Elijah. Trying to move his way up. Be contender. Qualifier. Let's see if Rice can lay down another 412 like he did. Cars to the pre-stage. Ford and Chevy, here we go. Now Elijah staying right alongside of Dwayne Rice, top of the racetrack. How about Morton? 410, 176 miles an hour to the 413 172 charge, and Elijah Morton just like that puts his name in the number 3 slot as Dwayne Rice going to be number 4. Nice solid efforts for both of those drivers and teams here in Q2 of Extreme Pro Stock.
Yeah, our final pairing category, Chris Powers and Stephen Boone. Chris on the left-hand side for Sonny's World Class Racing Engines out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. His 2021 Camaro sits atop the qualifying sheet with a 410 with a 1. And Stephen Boone here on the right-hand side, a past world champion in the category. For Boone Motorsports, the 07 Cobalt, Allen Competition Engines, Hoosier Tire, Menser Motorsports, line-to-line coating, White Safety, and Mazir Enterprises. He's back in the number 6 qualified position at a 414 with a 2.
Shake out of Steve Boone's hot rod, and there goes Chris Powers. 410, 176, low for the session, and Chris Powers picks up 1,000 of a second. How about 410 and 410 with a 1? Back-to-back times that Chris Powers has been down this racetrack. He's a very stout race car here in GALOT this weekend.
And Derek, I know that you tuned in to watch PDRA Live. We talked about success that some of these guys have had at this racing facility in the past. As Derek knocks stuff over, but it's okay. Johnny Placino has 7 660, man, just from this racetrack.
From GALOT.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Chris Powers has also had quite a bit of success down here as well.
So memory serves me correct, then Johnny Placino is the most winningest driver at PDRA here at GALOT Motorsports Park.
I believe you are absolutely right. Now we're getting ready to make the jump. The PDRA Pro 632 presented by PTC. Into pit area, we need Liberty's Gears Pro Street presented by Mincer Motorsports. Liberty's Gears Pro Street presented by Mincer Motorsports. We need you. So Jason Ventura, Andy House, our first pair of 632 hot rods. Jason in the Gladiator X Camaro out of Pompano Beach, Florida. Andy House here on the right-hand side. Noel Red, the 69 Camaro owned by Meade Baldwin. Southern Diamond Company SP Tools on board as they light the bulbs.
Ahead, and it's going to be 435, and Chur kind of towards the wall down there. 162 miles an hour. Andy House going to go 491. That red Camaro.
Our next pair, Kyle Salmon in left-hand side of the racetrack out of Marine City, Michigan. The Mats Electric 03 Cavalier with Pat Musey horsepower. Your number 8 qualifier to 428.7. And Mike Fiorelli here on the right-hand side out of Hollywood, Florida. The Chassis Engineering 68 Camaro for Rossler Trans, Wilson Manifold, Walsh Wheelie Bars, and VP Race Fuels.
Mike Fiorelli down there in Florida had violent nitrous backfire and some scoops right into the atmosphere. So they got the car fixed, back in action from that.
And you talk about neat hot rods. Mike Fiorelli's Camaro, steel roof and quarters, stock wheelbase. So pretty cool machine sitting over here on the right-hand side of the racetrack.
Blaine Murphy walks away. Mike Fiorelli moves towards the top bulb. Kyle Salmon does the same with his Cavalier out of Michigan. North versus South. They meet here at GALOT Motorsports Park this weekend. Identical reaction times, 427.8 for Salmon, and Fiorelli goes 428.8. 166 the speed, almost identical elapsed times. Number 8 and 11 here in qualifying. Pro 632. Lexi Tanner, how about that? Lexi, that's huge. 420, leading the category right now.
Chris Reaney, left-hand side of the racetrack. Out of Hickory, North Carolina, the ATI Performance Products, Maxima Oil, Braille Battery 69 Camaro. And Gary Hood here on the right-hand side, the 63 split window. The Inspector here right-hand side with Straight Line Media on board.
So Chris Rainey, Gary Hood on the starting line. Jerry Bickle built 69 Camaro. Maybe 027 going by the tree. Chris Rainey drives to the top of the racetrack at 4.26 seconds. 155 miles an hour. Gary Hood's going to trail at 450 here.
Brian Claus, Jeff Melnick. Claus came out with a solid Q1 performance of 4:24.8 in that 06 Cavalier out of Pasadena, Maryland for superior speed and custom and injector maintenance. And Jeff Melnick here on the right-hand side, past world champion behind the wheel of the Greenbrier Excavating 2020 Camaro. PTP and Mickey Thompson on board his machine. This sits in the number 10 qualified position with a 4:28.8.
So Melnick and Klaus on the starting line. White Chevrolet Camaro and a Greenbrier Excavating and Paving. And Barry Allen Racing engines. Melnick goes way red. Watch the scoreboard. 422, 169 on the right side. Brian Klaus gets there at 427. 167 the speed, so Jeff Melnick's number 3. Brian Klaus is number 6. He's trying to take a swing at Lexi Tanner's 420 laps time. That is hold on to the top spot currently in the category.
Chevy Floyd, George Coleman. Chevy over on the left-hand side. Jack Gadione, Black Diamond 68 Camaro for Floyd. User number 5 qualifier to 4:24.4. And George Coleman, the Corvette here on the right-hand side out of Hayes, Virginia. He's number 10 at a 4:28.7.
George Coleman's car sounded like it lost fire there for a moment. Back to life. He's clearing it out a few times. Chevy Floyd waiting patiently. His mom standing out in front. Good look inside of George Coleman's 63 split window Corvette. They light the top bulbs. Chevy Floyd's car makes a nice move to the top end. 424 with an 8, 167. Back-to-back 424 laps times we've seen out of him and Coleman. Gonna go 431 here at 165. No improvement from yesterday's 428. So that's going to keep both drivers number 5 and 10 from Pro 632 qualifying. So right now, Jeff Pittman and Nicole Liberty. Jeff Pittman, longtime top sportsman competitor, has made the move to 632 this year. 68 Chevelle for Hickory RPM, closed trailer sales company. And Nicole Liberty is committed to, I believe, the entire Redline Oil PDRA Tour. Have them aboard the Marine City, Michigan Cavalier for Liberty Gears. Better down low, Nicole Liberty, top of the racetrack, 423 with a 0. They pick up 4 thousandths at 168, 424. Jeff Pittman's going to pick up 100th of a second. They're going to be 4 and 5 now in qualifying. Good run, Jeff Pittman. And it's going to be Walter Lanigan and Lexi Tanner into the water box. The Talbot Manufacturing and Manhattan Collision Camaro. Call home in Indiana. If you're ever out driving the highways, you look at those lowboy equipment trailers. Just look up towards the front of them, and chances are you'll see the Talbot logo on them. They are everywhere. Walter Lanigan for freedomgrow.org. The Pontiac GTO. It's currently for sale. Set number 2 at 421.5. Just 4 thousandths of a second. Oh, excuse me. More than that. 421.5 and 420 with a 1. Walter Lanigan would like to be just 4 thousandths away from Lexi Tanner, which very well could do so right here. Jeff Pierce, Lexi Tanner, and that whole team on the right side, trying to start race day from the number 1 spot. Should be final pair in category. A little better by 2 thou. Down low goes to Walter Lanigan. 421.6 to the 421.6. How about that? Nice laps on both of those teams. Lexi stayed number 1 here in Q2. Walter Lanigan's number 2. Jeff Melnick's 3. Nicole Liberty 4. 5 is Jeff Pittman, 6 Chevy Floyd, Brian Kloss is 7, and rounding out your top 8 is Chris Reaney, the ATI Camaro at 426.0. 14 drivers are in the field.
PDRA Super Street presented by Brian's Heating and Cooling. We need you. PDRA Super Street presented by Brian's Heating and Cooling. We need you for Q2, please.